Okay, thank you so much. Let's get on to our next presentation. That will be about the effect of recurring procedure on the micro hardness values of different composite resins. It will be presented by Abdullah Dosri. He's from King Saud University. Thank you so much.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. My name is Abdullah Ibrahim al-Dosri, or Abdullah Ibrahim al-Manna. I'm a fourth year student from King Saud University, and today we're presenting the research which has the title Effect of Recurring Procedure on the Micro-Hardness Values of Different Composite Resins. We had a great experience and great time doing this research, and hopefully I'll have a great time representing it to you, ladies and gentlemen. The idea of this study came from the multiple studies have shown that upon curing of dental composite or dental restorations of composite, the most polymerized layer would always be the top one. The most superficial layer of composite would be the most polymerized layer, which means it's going to have the most cured layer. So this is related to the depth of curing. Of course, if you had a 4 millimeter composite, it's not going to the layer on the bottom not going to be cured as much as the one on the top. And of course, the top has a higher hardness than bottom, about 80%, which is markedly great difference and significance. So the finishing procedure removes almost have 0.5, which is the most superficial layer that is most polymerized as well. So that when we lose the most hard layer of the composite. So the goal of this study that we try to reach again the most polymerized layer on the most superficial layer, which is done by recuring the composite after finishing in the clinic. So if you finish the composite in the clinic and after that you start recuring again, you might have again the most superficial layer is repolymerized and thus more hardness will occur. We used 5 materials within this study, which is aesthetic XHD and Spectrum TPH3, Tetric Enceram, Filtec Z350 XT, Prime Dent. 3 of them were packable, 2 were flowable. Here's the syringe of these composite and brands. The methods. The specimen preparation, at first, we used a mold, stainless steel mold, 4 millimeter by 4 millimeter in a cylindrical shape. That how we prepare it on a glass slab with and then the light curing time and intensity in 40 seconds with a 1,700 of wavelength. We use the Blue Phase brand or model. We use the glass slab to standardize the distance of curing for the composite. And then the storage. The storage we had to, because of the lab ability, we had to store it in an incubator for 24 hours in a complete dark room at 37 degrees in a distilled water. So here's a illustration of the mold. It's a 4x4 cylindrical shape. And then the measurements. Each specimen had to be, we measured each specimen with the period of 24 hours between each measurement. First measurement was done by Vicker micro hardness, and measurement with a load of 300 grams under that load of grams and under 50 seconds of loading. 2 indentation were done with a diamond prism, and then we took the average of that. First measurement was the pre-finishing measurement, and the second were post-finishing measurement. We finished each composite. We removed 0.5 millimeters, which is the same as done it with the fine diamond in the clinic. It's a 600 grits of sand papers. And then the third measurement was done after recuring, which we're trying to prove in this study. And surprisingly, the results was, of course, there was increasement after the finishing, as been proved before with a lot of research. And then what we worked for, and what we were pointing to, and what we were trying to get from this study is that we had a significant change after recuring the composite with the hardness. So the pre-finishing, the spectrum had the highest hardness, and while the lowest was found to be the prime dent, and you can see the numbers on the screen. The post-finishing values showed higher values in all specimens, especially, that's the post-finishing measurements, especially with the spectrum, again, the spectrum TPH3, and it was still having the highest value of 79.8, while the lowest were aesthetic, and actually the prime dent was almost the same, but the lower was aesthetic 3. And after recuring, we still have the spectrum as the highest hardness, which that proves that the aesthetic might be the highest hardness among these 3 materials and these 3 brands. Now the comparison, you see, as you see on the graph, it's the pre-finishing, post-finishing, and post-recuring, while the measurements, and we had the spectrum as the highest hardness after recuring. And then we had the tetric spectrum and the aesthetic XHD and prime dent. Here's the microscopic photos from the indentation pictures. As you can see, the pre-finishing, we had we had the difficulties with the bubbles and voids on the most superficial layer. And then with the post-finishing, we had a better surface after the finishing, and we had a clearer indentation. And for the post-recure, you can barely see the indentation. It's not showing on the screen, but here's a zoom in of it. So the conclusion says that the finishing procedure will remove surface topographical irregularities. So finishing will improve the hardness of the composite materials, which we refer to the reference at the bottom of the page. And what we try to reach, and thank God we reached it, that recuring will return the most superficial polymerized layer, which is going to be removed after finishing procedure, and the hardness of the composite materials will improve as a result. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this nice presentation. So let's come to the question part.
Thank you, Abdullah. Excellent presentation.
Thank you.
I have a question. It's kind of like a little bit of comment. When you do curing, extra curing, when you extend the time, it may cause some shrinkage, which can cause micro leakage. Have you touched on that base? Did you read that recuring can affect on shrinking of the polymers, so it may cause some micro leakage or not?
Indeed. No, we didn't go toward this actually. We went toward the hardness as a basic and as a significance.
So on your presentation, you recommended to use it.
Yeah, indeed.
So if you are recommending to use something, you should have also thought about the other aspects, because it may go to the disadvantage.
Exactly. Actually, we recommended using it and in the soft start so we don't get a pulp irritation if it's in clinical. We try to go as much as to represent as much as the clinical environment and the atmosphere in there.
Yeah, but we are talking about
the gap and
the gap,
marginal gaps.
The marginal gaps, especially the one is close to the surface, since you are focusing on the surface.
Indeed, we didn't have any measurements about the gaps and marginal gaps.
Yeah, will be. I think it
or
would
shrinkage.
Be
Yeah,
could be a good idea to see it later on.
exactly.
Just a question that you are not necessary to answer, but do you know what kind of statistical test you used?
I'm sorry?
What is the statistical test that you used? I come from research background, that's why. When I saw that 4 or 5 different types you used, I was a little bit hesitating what type of test it will be able to catch the relation between all of them. So do you know what type of test that you or your professor have used to study the relation between all of them?
Not exactly. We got some help from Dr. Nasr Maflihi. Actually, he's a biostatistical doctor.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Very good job.
Thank you.
السلام عليكم.
Salam.
لو سمحت بسأل، أنت قلت إنه all types of composite shown hardened after finished and some are shown hardened after recuring. What's the difference between them?
Well, the composite brands, as we mentioned before, all had a significant increasement with the hardness values. If I can have the presentation on the screen, please. As you can see on the graph, almost all the composites started at the same point with pre-finishing as hardness, and then increased after post-finishing. We had a more increasement with the hardness, and then all of it, but they had a difference and like a significant between which one increased more and which one increased less with the composite. But in general, we say it's all increased with the recurring measurement.
Thank you so much for your nice presentation.